What's up, y'all? It's Loco, and today I'm going to be talking about why Minato would lose to Kinkaku and Ginkaku. But I want to make it very clear that I am not going to be downplaying Minato in this video, right? I've kind of built up a reputation for being that one guy that just hates on Minato all the time, and I don't want to be known as that. It's starting to leave a stain on my good reputation. So I just want y'all to know that the point of this video is to not downplay Minato, but rather upscale and hype up my boys, Kinkaku and Shminkaku. For too long, they have been downplayed by the entire community as a whole. It all started like 5 years ago when a certain group of YouTubers decided to use the two of them as a talking point in order to downplay Tobirama, and now everybody thinks they lost to Darui, which isn't even what happened. So in this video, I'm going to be using feats, statements, and the general scaling of the verse to prove to you why Kinkaku and Shminkaku could beat Minato, one of the community's fan favorite characters. Real quick, I'm pretty sure this is my own theory. I've never really heard someone else make this argument before. If you have, please do me a favor and let me know. I don't want to make it seem like I'm stealing somebody else's ideas because I am trying my hardest to come up with my own theories and not just parrot the same ideas that have been floating around in the community for the last like half a decade. And I put a lot of work in these videos, so I would appreciate it if each and every one of you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. But without further ado, let's just get right into the video. Now, first things first, Kinkaku and Ginkaku kind of did like beat up Tobirama on two separate occasions, but there's context to that, right? Like the first time they ambushed him, it was a sneak attack, Tobirama was off guard, and the second time, Tobirama was incredibly fatigued and was not only going up against Kinkaku and Ginkaku, but like a bunch of other like highly skilled Jonin. And of course, I think Tobirama beats Minato. That's the only correct opinion. But I'm not trying to turn this video into Tobirama versus Minato. I already have a video about that on my channel. Go check it out. But anyways, let's get into their feats and scaling from the 4th Great Shinobi War, right? Obviously, they were brought back as Edos, right? They were facing off against the 1st Division, which included Darui, Darui's team, Inoshika Cho, and the rest of like 20,000 other shinobi, right? And when they first arrive on the battlefield, the Raikage shits his pants. He's like, oh my god, if Kinkaku and Ginkaku are now on the battlefield, then I must go fight them myself. Which means that first of all, the Raikage thought that nobody in the 1st Division would be able to beat Kinkaku or Ginkaku, even though they're still in base. Contrary to what all of the big YouTubers have been telling you, Kinkaku and Ginkaku slam Darui and the rest of his squad, right? They react to all of their attacks, they blitz them on multiple occasions. After this, Samui and Atsui get sealed in the gourd and Darui has to face them himself. Of course, he doesn't actually last too long before he himself gets sealed as well. Or at least, that's what Kinkaku and Ginkaku thought. See, Kin and Gin have access to the Sage of Six Paths sacred tools, right? And the way that it works is that once you are cursed by them, you cannot say your fatal word, or the word that you spoke the most over the course of your life, right? So basically, Darui changes his fatal word at the very last second and doesn't get sealed into the gourd. Obviously, that had never happened before because it is an ass pull, but Ginkaku doesn't realize this, so Darui actually off-guards him and seals him inside the gourd, right? This is where a lot of people try to claim that, oh, Darui beat Kinkaku and Ginkaku, but that's only the half of it, right? Of course, Ginkaku was off-guarded. That had never happened before. It is like completely out of left field. So, like, the only way that Darui was actually able to beat one of them was by off-guarding them, which is a trope that we'll see later on in the fight as well. After seeing his brother get sealed away, Kinkaku gets pissed off, right, and goes straight into his version 2 state immediately. As a side note, I'd like to mention that Kinkaku has better control over his Biju than most Jinchuriki, because he is still able to retain consciousness and form strategies in his version 2 state, which is something that we never see Naruto do. Gaara is barely able to do it, right? They're all getting possessed by their Biju, yet Kinkaku doesn't have to worry about this because we clearly see him having rational thoughts, like through all of the fight. Now, this is the important part. Right before this, the Raikage states that if Kinkaku transforms, we won't be able to stop him. Since he uses we instead of they, that would refer to himself and the rest of the alliance, right? So that would mean that version 2 Kinkaku should scale above any single person in the Shinobi Alliance. And this would obviously include people like Kakashi, B, Naruto, and the rest of the 5 Kage. This is actually insane that Kinkaku should scale this high. After this, the Raikage has to use yet another ass pull to save the 1st Division from being completely annihilated, which would be the 5th sacred tool that the Sage of Six Paths used to wield, which is the Amber Purification Jar. And for some reason, his assistant has a teleportation ninjutsu that can instantly send the Amber Purification Jar directly to the battlefield of the 1st Division. What the fuck? After they receive the Amber Purification Jar, it takes the entire First Division to distract Kinkaku, while Shikamaru, Darui, Ino, and Choji have to off-guard him just so they can get a Shadow Possession off on him and seal him away in the Ass Pool Jar. So after going through all this, you have to realize that it took a Deus Ex Machina completely out of left field to put Kinkaku down for good. We had never heard of the Amber Purification Jar before, or the Ethereal Transmission Ninjutsu. It's insane that the leaps and bounds they had to go through to put Kinkaku down. Yet some people still think that Madara's death was an ass pull. Like, come on now, they shafted my boy Kinkaku. And throughout that entire time, Kinkaku and Ginkaku would not have gotten touched at all if they were not constantly distracted and off-guarded by their opponents. It's insane. So, after getting that out of the way, I have two scaling methods that would prove Kinkaku and Ginkaku would be able to beat Minato. The first is obviously the Raikage statement that nobody in the Shinobi Alliance would be able to take down Kinkaku alone after he transformed into his version 2 state. So, in the databooks, the Raikage was stated to be not inferior to the Yellow Flash, which means that he has to be greater than or equal to Hokage Minato, right? Because he obviously can't be inferior to him or weaker than him, right? So if the Raikage thinks that he won't be able to stop Kinkaku, then that means Minato probably can't either, since he would scale below him. And a lot of people might try to claim that, oh, that statement is referring to Jonin Minato. First of all, no it's not. There is no reference to Jonin Minato in that statement or in that entire page at all. Second, prove to me that Jonin Minato is any weaker than Hokage Minato. Give me one feat, give me one instance. That's all I ask of you. I know you can't do it. Of course, there are others in the Shinobi Alliance that scale above Minato as well. The first one being Killer B. We already saw him Perception Blitz Minato in the Third Great Shinobi War. Whenever B used his tentacle to push A out of the way and into safety, Minato didn't even realize that he didn't cut through A until after the tentacle had already pushed him away, right? We literally see his internal dialogue. He's like, what? Exclamation point, exclamation point. After he's already cut through the tentacle, so he couldn't even tell what was going on. Of course, we also see B react to Flying Thunder God, which is instantaneous teleportation. Minato was not able to catch him off guard when he teleported to his back. Jonin B, in base, was able to not only Perception Blitz Minato, but also react to his instantaneous teleportation and pull his kunai out before Minato could strike him. That's actually insane, especially when we know that the Raikage was like forcing B to train throughout his entire life and like having him stay inside the Cloud Village, and just so he could get stronger and stronger, right? So Adult B would scale above Jonin B just based off those statements, right? So of course, B would scale above Minato as well. Of course, the Raikage statement should also refer to Naruto as well. At that point in the series, he did have KCM-1, but he hadn't really done much with it yet. He had already slammed the shit out of Kisame, and at that point in time, B remarked that he looked exactly like the Yellow Flash. That's just statements putting him on Minato's level already. And like, you can try to say that the Raikage didn't know that Naruto had mastered the Kyuubi chakra just yet, which is fair, but he should at least be talking about the lower forms of Naruto as well. And even Sage Naruto has 3 individual statements that would put him above Minato's level. When Sage Naruto first arrives on the battlefield to fight Pain, Tsunade hallucinates and sees Minato and Jiraiya standing behind Naruto. Gamabunta also remarks that Naruto reminds him of those two, that being Jiraiya and Minato. Fukasaku also mentions that Naruto has surpassed his predecessors, which is insane, right? Also, I want to make it very clear that they are not talking about Sage Mode in that instance, right? Naruto had just displayed a feat of blitzing the Ashura path and one-shotting it with a single Rasengan. They were definitely talking about his speed and power surpassing both Jiraiya and Minato. So those are at least 3 characters that would like scale to or above Minato, that being the Raikage, B, and Naruto. You could also make arguments for others like Kakashi, but I'm not going to go that far. You guys already get the point. Now, my second method of scaling Kinkaku and Ginkaku above Minato would be that they're just outright stronger than Darui. Of course, the Raikage statement would apply to him as well, and we already see them like beating him up in base. So basically, everybody loves to use Darui as like an anti-feat for Kinkaku and Ginkaku, but that's right, we're gonna be hyping up Darui here, boys. The fact of the matter is that he is relative to the Raikage in speed, because during the 5 Kage Summit, he is not only able to keep up with A, but is also able to defeat Suigetsu, who has feats against both B and the Raikage as well. So it's pretty clear that Darui should scale to the Raikage's tier of speed, at least his version 1 state, as that's like the most we've seen from him. But also, we know for a fact that version 1 Raikage should be relative to, if not stronger than early KCM 1 Naruto, at least before he got his mental amp, right? He got that one resolve amp and decided to outspeed the Raikage, which is like, that's not what we're talking about right here. Naruto without his mental amp was getting bullied by the Raikage in his version 1 state. He was getting pushed around, he was getting hit back. The Raikage actually grabbed B's tentacle and slammed him into Naruto. It's actually insane, right? And Darui should just be relative to this tier of speed. He scales to KCM 1 Naruto, who has several statements implying that he is at or above Minato's level at this point in the story. Just to make it as clear as possible, I want to make sure y'all know that I am not downplaying Minato for the purposes of making this video. I have always thought he scaled to KCM 1 Naruto in terms of speed. You can also say that he would scale to Sage Naruto as well. Like, obviously, like I mentioned, Sage Naruto has multiple statements and feats that would put him above Minato's level. Also, a lot of people are going to try to claim that, like, Naruto needed Sage Mode to clash with the Nine Tails, and that, like, Minato was stated to be above Hashirama. Those are the people that I don't like, that tend to wank Minato. We already know for a fact that that statement of Minato being on Hashirama's level was horribly mistranslated. I talked about that in some of my other videos. Also, that feat of him clashing with the Nine Tails, like, I can downplay the shit out of it if I wanted to, but the fact of the matter is, base Naruto with his incomplete Rasen Shuriken was stated to rival Hokage Minato in terms of power. This is an actual statement. So basically, Naruto from all the way back in early Shippuden should scale to Hokage Minato, which would just upscale the rest of the verse. So like, after seeing that statement, Minato's feat of clashing with the Nine Tails doesn't really matter anymore, because anyone that scales above base Naruto would be able to do the exact same thing. So with that being said, I don't think Minato really has any win cons here, right? Because Kinkaku and Ginkaku scale above base Naruto from early Shippuden, so they should be able to overpower him in terms of AP. Obviously, they're fucking buff, they're physically stronger than him by a mile. Minato isn't really known for his, like, physical strength. And of course, like, they should scale to Darui, the Raikage, etc. That should all scale at least 2 or above Minato's tier of speed, so he's not going to have a speed advantage on them at all. Also, they blatantly have better sealing jutsu than Minato because they have the Sage of Six Paths Sacred Tool. Nothing short of the Reaper Death Seal would be able to come anywhere close to that level of sealing, and of course, that would be a lose-lose. It's like a draw for both parties. So honestly, I don't believe Minato has the speed, strength, or durability, Splinter level, to be able to contend with Kinkaku and Ginkaku. Like, what does he even do to them at this point in the series? I know a lot of people are going to bring up the 8th Gate guy stuff, but like I've already said, I've talked about that in length in my other videos, especially the Minato versus Tobirama one, the Sasuke versus Minato one. It goes on and on. Like, if you want to debunk on those feats, go watch those videos. But I will tell you this right now. For those of you that think I have been downplaying Minato for this entire video, I am willing to concede one thing about this argument. KCM Minato would win. Thank you for watching.